when I joined Snapdeal, it was into couponing business. So your restaurants, coupons, spa coupons, so those sort of things were being sold.
Actually, most people would not even know today.
Yeah.
A lot of young engineers would not even know that was a huge business back then.
Every problem that came up to us always came up with what is the timeline.
Right.
So yeah, we took a good amount of time and built the e-commerce platform, and then it launched. It broke the very first day, but yeah, after that it took off.
Because the estimating cost of build versus buy is also very, it's very opaque.
Yeah, I think startups may the interesting thing is ki if you are doing well at one company, then probably you won't have to interview उसके बाद.
Biggest job security in a way is just having high performance.
After Unicommerce acquisition, I was pretty clear I wanted to join a bigger organization to see how things are done at a bigger level. Yeah, I think what they were looking for is whether or not you would like to work with that person. And if the answer is yes, so then it should be a go. And I think that is exactly what I look for in my interviews. So I think biggest red flag is कि मुझे 2 minute में answer मिल जाता है तो कि this is the final answer. That is not what I was looking for. I'm looking to see how you're solving the problem, how you're approaching the problem. AI would basically help people increase their productivity big time.
AI won't replace you. You might get replaced by someone who uses AI very well. Hello everyone. In this new episode of Skiller Podcast, we have Sunny Agrawal with us. Sunny has had almost 15 years of experience in very fast-paced tech industry of India. He started his career with D Shaw. He spent years at Snapdeal when it was in the rapid growth mode. We'll talk about the crazy growth stories of Snapdeal that you experienced. Then you were in almost a founding member at Unicommerce. I believe you joined Unicommerce when it was a really small team.
Yeah.
Then again, back to Snapdeal as an architect. You spent some time at Arcesium, Atlassian, and now you are heading the tech team, engineering team at Stable Money. Yeah, so welcome to Skiller Pod, Sunny. Of course, it's a pretty impressive tech journey that you have had. And we would love to dig into what your learnings, experiences, patterns that you have seen that you now apply. And of course, I'm sure it will have a lot of interesting nuggets for people who would be walking similar journey as yours in the coming years. We would love to even understand about, the tech behind Stable Money. Of course, India's fintech in general is booming quite a bit. The growing GDP per capita journey that we are talk about, all of that is gonna get funneled through all these financial tech interventions. So exactly what kind of tech you are building as Stable Money, we'll double click on that as well. So to begin with, you graduated in 2009, and then you started with Arcesium.
D Shaw.
D Shaw is the one that you started with.
Yeah.
Tell us about your very initial journey. And then right after that, you went to Snapdeal, right? So in a way, from a very large MNC to a very, very young startup, right? Tell us about this initial phase of your career and how were your experiences at two extreme ends of the organizations?
So again, getting into D Shaw was, I don't know, luck by chance, maybe. But yeah, so interview process and everything. So baki jo companies, so Microsoft, Adobe, so there was a aptitude round.
Right.
And at NSIT, almost all of my classmates were preparing for CAT. So they used to crack pura aptitude round, pura big time, and then I used to fell left behind because I did not want to do MBA.
Yeah.
So, but then D Shaw happened. Aptitude was somehow cracked, and then finally the tech interview mein discussion, there were lots of things discussed, but yeah, one thing that I remember found profoundly was the database wala discussion that they had. So some schema design they wanted for a very basic problem. And then I used to love database as a course in my engineering, so I had done quite a lot of problem solving in database. So that discussion went deep, and then they sort of, I don't know, like that part, and then
So your love for database is what got you into
yeah, definitely. So yeah, I was not, I was good at things, but I was not very good at one of them. The database was something that I was really good at, that I could say. So yeah, that's how D-Shaw happened. So when we joined, all bright, like there were around 70 of us that joined in one batch.
Right.
All of them from best colleges in India.
Of course, D-Shaw always have had really high bar of hiring.
So they put us through 1 month of training program where they taught us different programming languages, how are things done. So we had no idea about finance in general. So they taught us about stock markets, how what are hedge funds and those sort of things. But yeah, when we were put on work, so there are two things, right? Front office, back office for a trading platform.
Right.
So I was basically in the front office wala team that basically handles during the trading day wala part of the system. I was told that this is one of the most critical teams in D-Shaw because it works. It's responsible for bringing the trading system up.
Right. And generally, from what I have heard, the pressure is also often very high.
Yeah. So it was. Their speed was not a problem, but then whatever you do, the accuracy of
reliability is
right. The sort of coding practices, they were extreme. The bar was extremely high. So I mean, the founder of D-Shaw, right, the David Shaw, so he also used to like do code reviews at times, random code reviews, and then he would. So yeah, everyone was really careful about what is being pushed into production, and then the code base, we like started reading it, and it was beautiful. That is how I basically felt in love with coding.
Right.
Seeing how beautifully things are written and how are they all coming together and bringing up that trading system who's doing billions of dollars of trade.
Right.
So
I think I just interject that having an opportunity to be at a place where you can see excellence at its peak is such a great experience, that because then you know that what the real standards are that one need to chase.
Plus fresh out of college में जो आप कोड लिखते हो वो सबको पता है कैसे लिखते हैं ना, तो it's starts with variable a is equal to this, right? So that is the biggest thing कि variable का नाम should tell you कि यार what is it supposed to do. Function का नाम, variable का नाम, function का length. So those sort of things were.
And often people early on do not understand why this is important. While this is super important.
And that is important. Even you would realize if you read that code 6 months down the line.
Correct.
You would not understand कि यार ये मैंने क्यों लिखा था. So even जैसे comments वाला part, right? So comments अभी I think people have started writing less and less of comments, but there the comment पे the guidance was कि do not write comment ki what are you doing. So everybody is a developer here, everybody understands what are you doing. Only write comment where ki why are you doing. If you are writing something complex, so then why are you doing this. So that is what should go as a comment if it is a complex logic. Otherwise what you are doing, everybody knows Java.
One can read the code and understand.
Right.
Yeah.
So why aspect of it was important. Then the test cases and everything.
I think that's a very interesting insight, I would say, that the purpose of comment is not creating English version of the code.
Right. Yeah.
You have to add some more information which is not there in the code, which is why.
Right. And some context to it.
Yeah, and the context to
here, why did we have to do this?
Yeah, that's very good insight.
So there are some basically hacks you might have to put. But they might be relevant at that point of time, right? Otherwise, if you do not document it, then people would say यार क्या shitty coder था, उसने क्या लिखा, and then
and that knowledge is lost.
Yeah. So that can be captured in comments. So that was it. So yeah, coding quality, everything was very high standards. And then 2 months after, like 2 years after being into D-Shaw, then one thing, so I was really liking it there. There was no question about ki I was getting bored or anything of that sort. But yeah, I wanted to try something different also. So I felt that slowness because of the so much processes involved in the code quality, wala restrictions and those sort of things. So I wanted to explore something which is thoda fast paced. And then there was a Delhi wala angle attached to it also. I wanted to move to Delhi. So that is how Snapdeal happened. And when I joined, I had no idea what Snapdeal.
This would have been year 2011.
2011. So yeah, I had no idea what Snapdeal was. It was just it was
e-commerce was just booming in India at that time.
Yeah.
Very early days of e-commerce.
So it was not even not even early days, right? So when I joined Snapdeal, it was into couponing business. So your restaurants coupons, spa coupons, so those sort of things were being sold.
Actually, most people would not even know today.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of young engineers would not even know that that was a huge business back then.
Yeah, I think Groupon was a
Snapdeal
good
was in a
business,
big,
Indian version of
Groupon,
Groupon. It was doing very well, overall.
Yeah.
But yeah, very small team, around 10 engineers, I would say. But we were doing deals only. And then AWS also came into picture. So Snapdeal ka servers were hosted on a private data center. I think Rackspace ka data center tha, they were hosted there. We started hitting some limitations of data center. I cannot recall what was this, but then it was like, let's move on to AWS. So that move also happened during my time. And then again, बिल्कुल जैसे आपने बोला, it's like a different spectrum of the industry where there were no processes.
Right.
Everybody sort of had access to everything. Code quality, there were no code reviews.
Like make it work.
So yeah. But I started it liking it right away, in the sense that I was basically assigned to work with some marketing managers, business managers, and then they used to come up with problems. And then they were like, यार, I need this solution.
Right.
उसको आप automate करो या कैसे भी करो, I need this report, for example. And then I would know, so this report comes from 3 different databases, so I'll probably have to create some sort of an ETL job.
Right.
There were no data warehouses or data lakes at that time. It was a bunch of transactional tables and databases. So you would probably write a Python script to pull data out of multiple tables and then automate it and then give them a report, which they were very happy with, because it used to take them like 4 or 5 hours just to get that report. And then अब उनको automated वो मिलने लगा, तो they were really happy. For example, ऐसे ही फिर कुछ dashboards है ना, so those sort of things, small problems you solve for people, and then they would be like, यार मजा आ गया.
So while at one side, on one extreme in a large MNC, you will have lot of processes, lot of, let's say, code reviews happening, lot of iterations to ensure quality. But then the cycle of building something to it getting used by the end customer might be super long.
Right.
While here probably there might be a little bit of missing on the structure and process, but probably every other day you can build something, put it out there, which are being used by the people.
Right. Plus, I think being after spending 2 years at D-Shaw, that is something that came into my DNA, right? कि मैं code लिखूंगा तो थोड़ा अच्छा ही लिखूंगा.
वो habit बन गई है. It's now your habit to like directly write high quality of code.
तो थोड़ा better, not high quality, but better तो होगा.
There's no perfection in
code. तो that is something I tried to ensure as much as possible. But at the same time, speed became of utmost importance, and then shipping features at a very lightning speed. So every problem that came up to us always came up with what is the timeline. So that was something very very new to me. यार अच्छा problem भी है, इसका time भी है, इसको इतने time में solve करना है.
So I think so pressure वाला जो आपने बताया था कि DE show में, while the pressure was on quality and time was not that much of a pressure. Sure, you can take some time and do it, but really well. Opposite to that, here probably it would be that perfection is not expected. It's okay if it is little less. I think that was this quote at Facebook as well: move fast and break things. It's okay for some things to break, but you have to move very very fast.
उसमें but I think that learning came like some years into the journey कि when you get a problem statement, then you can also sort of ask the product manager or the business guy who comes up with the problem कि what is your vision for this problem, है ना? If the vision is prototyping, है ना, एक experiment करना है, तो then you can probably write something quick and dirty, and then if you feel कि यार नहीं, this is something that is going to be there for long, है ना, then you can probably push back and then say यार नहीं boss, इसको अच्छे से करते हैं because ये रहेगा.
So even as an engineer, you are saying कि like one mode like which often engineers work in is that this has to be built. I got the PRD, I'll just implement that. And then the other way approach there is that engineers, as a, let's say, be it a developer, be it an engineering manager, be it a tech lead, you go back and ask the why behind it. Ki why are we building this, so that whatever you build is better suited to the real goals, not just what they are asked to build.
Def.
Do you remember some example where you asking this detail that tell me the whole vision behind it? That led to massive change in how it was done or better, it getting done better.
I think Snapdeal would be a perfect example for it. So we were into couponing business.
Yeah.
We then started selling lightning deals of some products, for example, beanbag,
Yeah.
some other stuff. And then one day the guy brought some Tommy shirt to be sold on. So now the problem with that shirt was it had some sizes. So that size wala support we had not built, right? Deal was like just bring up something. So उस time पे then we questioned कि यार क्या हम इस तरह के products और करेंगे? And the answer was yes. So then it was like कि and then again we were convinced with the answer because Flipkart was then getting huge traction. So then I like basically talked to my manager and then basically we talked to Kunal and Rohit and had a big discussion around it. Here, I think we should build an e-commerce platform. We should become a full-fledged e-commerce platform, and then we can have deals as a vertical. But right. So उस टाइम पे अगेन बहुत डिस्कशन हुआ सारी चीज़ें तो तुम बहुत जल्दी कर देते हो इसमें तुम क्यों कह रहे हो इसको रीराइट करना पड़ेगा और पूरा टाइम लगेगा बट देन आई थिंक एवरीवन गॉट कन्विंस्ड देयर वर डिस्कशंस अराउंड बिल्ड एंड बाय यार अच्छा कोई मजेंटो या इस तरह का कोई ई कॉमर्स प्लेटफॉर्म लगा लेते हैं उस तरह का बट देन फाइनल कॉल वाज टेकन कि नहीं विल बिल्ड दिस थिंग इन हाउस वी टुक गुड 2-3 months to build that thing. I think that is the period when I remember I worked the most. We were spending crazy hours in the office because it was our call to build the e-commerce platform, right? Correct. So, and because we were convinced by it, this is what is needed. So yeah, we took good amount of time and built the e-commerce platform, and then it launched. It broke the very first day, but yeah, after that it took off big time.
Fantastic. You talked about build versus buy, right? And as a CTO, I'm sure that you would have to make this decision very often. That what to build, what to buy. What's your framework to make a choice there? Because that's a very, very critical choice.
Yeah. So for developers, first
thought urge to build.
Yeah. First thought that comes to mind.
भी कर लेंगे.
ये तो मैं
भी बना लेंगे.
But so I think the first very basic question is it your core? As a business, is this something that is very, very core to you? Or the next question is what are the alternatives available in the market? And are they good enough to suffice the requirements? There are times where tools are available, but then your requirement is something that would not be suited, and you will ultimately end up hacking those tools. So that is another pointer. The third pointer is again is the cost. For startups, I think puri journey mein whatever project you are undertaking, cost is a big factor. So yeah, if there are products in the market, it's not your core, and cost wise it's okay, I think I will always go for buy.
Got it. And then I think I'll double click on the cost variable, because the estimating cost of build versus buy is also very, it's very opaque. Because while the buy cost is pretty clear that this is what you pay, this is the recurring charges that you have to pay, while estimating the cost for build it's not easy to estimate that accurately. So how do you estimate that what is the cost to build?
So I think usme what we usually people generally estimate is कि the amount of time required to build this, उसमें कितने engineers लगेंगे, and obviously the infra that will be required to support this. But what we usually forget is उसका next वाला journey, कि उसको maintain करना, उसमें features add करना, उसको up to date रखना. Because अगर आप उसमें development नहीं करोगे तो एक साल बाद it will start getting legacy. So then there has to be some cost spent on it on maintaining that. So engineer का cost, and I think engineer का cost is the most
it's pretty expensive.
तो अगर आपको 2 engineer भी लगाने पड़ गए तो
वो मतलब 5-10 लाख रुपए महीना तो it's gone there easily. Right.
तो वैसे सुन के फिर लगता है ना कि $1,000 और प्रोडक्ट का सब्सक्रिप्शन देना ये सब देना, but then if you
actually, but then that's cheaper, because if you have to then put one engineer full time on it, it's easily $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month subscription. Engineers come at a very high subscription cost.
Right.
Very interesting. So this was your Snapdeal journey. One interesting thing I also noticed is that while, like, if one looks at your whole professional journey, you have worked across multiple companies, right? But one thing that I noticed was that you have, like, in one way, it's probably just two companies. Because you kept just around the companies which were, like, you were in Snapdeal, you went out, you came back again. And then, like, Unicommerce, for example, was actually a company built by people
Like
within
Snapdeal.
Snapdeal. So in a way, for theoretically maybe you went to a new company, but you practically probably was working with the same people.
Same set of people.
Right. So tell us about that. How did your professional changes, etc., happened? Often, like, to a young engineer, often it is like, sure, I'm working here, I will give more interviews, I'll change the job. But how does it practically work? And how did it work for you in your 15 years of professional career?
Yeah, I think startups mein the interesting thing is ki if you are doing well at one company, then probably you won't have to interview uske baad. Because there would be people around you, the people you will be interacting with within company, outside of company, who are building startups.
Right.
And then if you are doing well, you would get that feedback.
Right.
And then the people are always looking for people to hire.
Right.
So that is what exactly happened with me.
Biggest job security in a way is just having high performance.
Yeah, that's I think in every aspect, right?
Correct.
Kuch bhi aap karo, if you are doing well, so then people would chase you, right?
Correct.
So that is what exactly happened with me. I think Snapdeal so went good. So my engineering head back then, he started this company called Unicommerce, which was into e-commerce warehousing.
Right.
Initially, he called me at very beginning, but then I was like, I need some salary. So as soon as he got his first round,
I'll pause you there.
Yeah.
If you just look back, if you had joined them, of course, lesser salary would have come at a lot of equity. Do you think that would have been a good choice, or like joining them later was a better choice? And like, just be very blunt and honest here.
Yeah, obviously अगर मैं उस time पे join करता तो हाँ, returns would have been much higher. But then again, my decision at that time was based on the variables I was dealing with at that time. Right?
It's always risk and reward, right? So you want to minimize risk sometimes.
Right, I was getting married at that time. So then मेरे ससुर जी क्या कहेंगे? तो हाँ, so but yeah, it was a conscious choice because उस टाइम पे स्टार्टअप्स का उतना वो भी नहीं था, राइट? कि फंडिंग मिलेगी और आई थिंक नाउ इट इज बिकमिंग अ थिंग, बट एट दैट टाइम आई थिंक एंड आई honestly, when I joined Unicommerce, I did not know what equity I had. So my discussion, so he is more of a friend, right? So he was like कि अच्छा तेरे को Snapdeal में इतना मिल रहा है, I would give you this much at Unicommerce, उसके अलावा कुछ stocks भी दे दूँ. मैंने कहा ठीक है. That is it. So yeah, he called me when I basically he got funding. Worked with Unicommerce, again an exceptional experience. So because same set of people you're working with, right? And I think developers or techies especially, they like working with good people. Right. So even if company में ऊपर क्या हो रहा है, if the people you are working with, you like that, I think they will stick with you.
Right.
So yeah, we built Unicommerce. It basically 3-4 months down the line, we had lots of paying customers. So we were profitable from day one us respect में. And then e-commerce was transitioning from a inventory-led model to a marketplace seller-based model. So उस time पे I remember कि we used to go to sellers' warehouse and talk to them कि अच्छा आपको क्या क्या problem आता है. Because we had to do a pivot, right? Because there were limited e-commerce marketplaces, but seller-based marketplaces were becoming a thing, and Amazon had come, Flipkart had come. So, and at that time, e-commerce did not have APIs for sellers. So we had to build integrations with all the e-commerce players. Some through scraping, some through whatever, like looking at their network tab and उसमें XHR देख के अच्छा JSON आ रहा है तो या फिर so looking at their APIs, we used to figure out कि अच्छा ये कौन सा framework use कर रहे हैं. So who is building on ASP.NET? So because उसमें उसका जब use state आता था, that we had to remember. So it was very interesting. And then we started crawling them, those And then some of those e-commerces were not expecting this traffic, right? Because we were polling them frequently for inventory, for pricing, for order updates. So they started blocking us. So they started blocking our IPs. So then it was sort of a very nice cold war kind of a situation we were in. And then we used to find ways around it. Ki, acha, IP block kiya hai, so we'll buy more IPs. And we use domestic proxies to bypass those. And then if they put captcha, there were services which could crack those captchas also. If they would put some encryption in their JavaScript, we would go through the JavaScript, run their entire JavaScript through our engine and go. So as developers, you would say, why are we doing this? But then our founder was like, abhi hame koi nahi janta, so we are doing this. But then once we become big, and then people realize that we are solving a good problem, then those e-commerce would come back to us. Hamara API le lo, and then please solve this problem. So that's exactly what happened. 1-2 years down the line, all the e-commerces came to us, what APIs do you need? And then we sort of integrated those APIs, and then it became a smooth journey. Because so India at that time, there were around 5,000 sellers, and 3,500 sellers were on our platform.
I think that's very interesting that in startup building, one has to just keep fighting. Like if there's value to be created. Because as you mentioned that your founders were clear that today, if we go to them and tell them that please integrate with them, they will not do it. But if you just keep doing it in whatever way possible, navigate your way, fight it through, create value, then that would happen. And that ended up happening as well.
Right. So sellers who were our customers actually used to call their e-commerce customer care, say, please build APIs. We cannot handle orders from 10 different marketplaces. Logging into your panels and looking at uploading inventory multiple times. So if you are actually solving a problem, then it's worth it.
So that was your Unisys time, and then from there you went back to Snapdeal again.
So that was, I think, that happened as part of the acquisition. So
I see. Okay.
So all of us, all the Unicommerce team became part of Snapdeal, and we were there for some time. But after that journey, I basically spent good 5-6 years in the startups, and then I was sort of thinking in my mind ki, I have acted as an architect here, right? Built a lot of architectures, those sort of things. But how is it being done in bigger organizations? So that is something I wanted to know. So after Unicommerce acquisition, I was pretty clear I wanted to join a bigger organization to see how things are done at a bigger level. I had seen that at DE Shaw, but then I was at very nascent stage of my career, so did not.
That was very early career.
Then I joined the Atlassian at their Sydney office.
No, Atlassian is pretty interesting because Atlassian has been a very different organization in a lot of ways. One is, of course, while it's super large enterprise today, but their hiring process, their I think tech culture, all of that is known to be quite different from the rest of most of other companies. I would love to hear to begin with the hiring process that you experience there, and like what are your thoughts? How do you hire?
So Atlassian was pretty different from other bigger organizations in the sense that they were not asking DS algo in their interviews, but I really liked their process in the way that so for example, one of their interview rounds had the interviewer would give you a problem statement which you would have to code, and basically the interviewer would act as your partner in the pair programming. So it was a pair programming round, and then they basically you just normally code as if you're coding in the office. So you can ask questions, you can, if you're stuck somewhere, you can then ask for help, those sort of things, and then I think
so it's almost practical to how you work on a day.
Exactly.
Right. So they're in a way simulating that let's work together for a day.
And then I think that is what I also look for. So I think that what they were looking for is whether or not you would like to work with that person. And if the answer is yes, so then it should be a go. And I think that is exactly what I look for in my interviews. I also tend to avoid DS algo. I would put people in unknown territories, ask them general open-ended questions. I do not expect answers, full-fledged answers to the solution, but like to gauge how is he thinking. Because lots of time it happens कि office में मतलब when you're working तो you are stuck with problems which nobody knows answers to, right? कि कोई junior developer होगा तो ऐसा नहीं है कि senior developer को answer पता होगा,
right.
तो it's an exploratory thing that you would have to do,
right.
So अगर वो if you're doing good in that, अगर उस चीज़ों में आप give up कर देते हो in situations में तो then it's a problem.
Right. What are your red flags in the interview when you are taking an interview? As you mentioned, it's very clear that what you are looking for. You are looking for that, if you see an open-ended new problem that you have never seen before, how do you approach that, right? Interestingly, what I have seen a lot of young engineers or fresh grads, they have a very incorrect notion about what interviewer is looking for. They often believe that the interviewer is looking for the answer, right? So, like, if you can elaborate a little more on that, exactly what are you looking for? If not the answer, you said, like, in a way, you said, I'm not looking for the answer. Then what are you looking for?
Yeah, it's the way how you are approaching the problem, right? तो अगर तो I think biggest red flag is कि मुझे 2 मिनट में आंसर मिल जाता है तो कि this is the final answer. That is not I was looking for. I'm looking to see how you're solving the problem, how you're approaching the problem, what are the edge cases you're thinking about कि ऐसा कुछ हो सकता है तो क्या होगा, या फिर in general I would probably keep things which even I would not know the answer to, और उस situation में what so then every problem can probably be solved by some sort of assumptions.
Right.
So what assumptions you are making, and then you be clear about those
and
assumptions.
Are you kind of discussing those assumptions,
right?
Very precisely and aligning the interviewer to that we can make these 3 assumptions and basis that this could be a potential solution.
Yeah. So a candidate asking good questions is something I become very happy when that.
So
happens.
you are looking for good questions, not answers. And often like I have seen it pretty commonly that people are rather trying to just give the answer. It's rather uncommon for people to ask good quality questions.
Right. Other thing I look for is whether, I mean, it's a red flag for me if somebody is really onto something ki, this is the way this should happen. So I believe again,
I think a little bit of humility and openness that there could be 5 different ways to do it.
Yeah. So basically knowing that I do not know everything is something I look for. It's not ki, this is the way.
Being open to discover more.
Right. Ki I know a solution. This is one way to do it. There could be better ways to do it, and yeah, that could be part of the discussion. Plus, not trying to justify what. So let's say if he proposes a solution and then I give probably a different solution to that problem. So not keeping to justify कि यार नहीं, but उसको justify करना भी है तो give me the context why it was done.
Right.
So these were my limitations at that point of time.
Right.
These were the resources I had. So
right.
So if you give me an answer with the assumptions you have taken
right.
and the constraints you are in with,
right.
so then yeah, I'm happy to accept that answer.
Right.
But if you give me like no, this was the best possible answer and that's why I did this, and so that is something I would
Right. Can you share some of your anecdotes on 2 sides that I'm sure you would have hired so many engineers in your 15 years journey, right, and worked with them and so on. What were the scenarios where you felt like, what are your patterns where you realized that it was a bad hiring made by you, that you hired the person yourself, but after 6 months you realized that it was a bad hire, and then basis that I'm sure you would have tweaked your selection process a little bit, that I would try to filter for them. Yeah,
I think initial days of my career, 3-4 years, 5 years into the journey, there I was probably into that answer wala mode. If somebody is answering all the problems you are asking, so how can you reject that guy? Right. But then there were a couple of mishires due to that.
Right.
But uske baad I incorporated those again the openness to accepting things, how the humility aspect of it, like not being too overconfident, those sort of things. So now even if somebody is answering everything, as long as he does not meet that criteria.
Right. So let's say in an interview setup, the person is not getting to the perfect solution. The person giving the interview also knows that I have not built the solution. But their approach to it, they're asking you the right questions, they are making the right assumptions, they are building it in a structured, logical way. What would be outcome of that interview?
Yeah, it would definitely be so if I'm taking the final round, it would definitely be a go ahead for me.
Got it.
Yeah.
So you'll definitely move them to the next
round. Yeah, if it is
for
not
sure.
the final round, then
Yeah.
I would definitely pass him home and then write that feedback.
Right.
So
No, I think it's something pretty basic, but often people just don't realize it.
yeah.
People get too stressed that I was not able to solve, so the interview went bad. And I think sometimes like a little sensitive thing, but have you experienced people cheating in their interview? So otherwise, someone that person seems to be smart and could do well, but you notice that they are trying to like get some things from here or there, and generally that's rooted in trying to get the answer.
Yeah.
Because they don't realize that you don't have to get the answer.
Yeah. So that happened. You would know. So 10-15 minutes, the candidate is struggling big time, and then next minute he's giving you the perfect answer. So that is.
And like,
when
is
you
that
realize-
how does that affect your verdict of the interview?
Obviously, that would be a no hire.
Like, no matter if you are not,
Yeah.
fair. No, makes sense. And again, I think it's
So
very-
I think Atlassian had this guidelines for interviewers, right? So they would say that when you start an interview, consider the candidate to be rejected. Okay, and then if things start coming up, and then if he starts checking
ticking
those
the boxes,
points,
yeah.
and then you would consider him a hire. By default, he's a no hire. If there is a single doubt in your mind around the things that need to be checked,
Right.
then it's a no hire.
Right. On the talent itself, as you have seen tech teams, like you have joined teams which are very, very small teams, right? When you joined Snapdeal, probably it was a single digit team, right? And then those teams growing to become really, really big teams, right? Now, however, you are again operating a very lean team of smart folks. What have been your learnings on the size of tech teams?
Yeah, I think biggest learning is to not hire exponentially. If you need talent, if you need resources, try to do basically 1 or 2 guys at a time, and then let them join, let them gel into the team, and then go for the. I know business might be impacted. There would be scenarios where business might be impacted, but I think. If you suddenly hire, let's say you have a 15-member team, and if you suddenly hire 15 more members, your company's culture would go for a toss. Whatever practices, whatever processes that have been built over a period of probably 1 year, 2 years, whatever the duration might be, that would suddenly topple on its head.
Right.
And there would be new set of processes, new set of ways of doing things, which might not be wrong, but they would not align with the company's original goals, and that would basically make your previous basically employees do feel not good, because things were developed over time, and then they had the basically affection for the way they did things, right?
No, but it's a recurrent theme that I have seen over last whole decade, that there are startups growing very, very well, business is great, a lot of funding, lot of demand from business on tech, that this needs to be built, that need to be built, such systems need to exist. And the natural response to that for most people is that sure, we have got tens of millions of dollars to be spent on tech. There is talent available, so let's just go hire as many as we can, right? On another, so like this has been pretty common, right? On another extreme, we have, for example, I remember a year back we were interviewing Dr. Kailash from Zerodha at the same chair, and he's on another extreme. That while Zerodha, of course, no shortage of capital to hire. Very good brand. Most good engineers would love to go and work there. But Dr. K always said that no, I'm going to keep the team very, very lean. A small team, zero attrition, almost zero hiring. It's a small team with a lot of compounding of knowledge, which is operating. Right? These are two different extremes.
Yeah.
In your opinion, what is the which extreme is better, or what is the right balance between the two?
Yeah, I don't know which one is better, but yeah, I am more inclined towards
Following Dr. K.
wala approach. I would try to keep the team as lean as possible. And I think...
And why?
Yeah, part of it is the problems that you talked about, right? Ki business keeps coming up with problems. I think part of it is solved by you have a meeting with them and then you tell them what are the top 3 things you need.
Yeah.
Right? And then you ask this question to each of the business owners.
Right.
And when you do that, if you give them those top 3 things, the remaining 6-7 things is something they do not need. Probably they do not need at all.
They never need it. It was just a wish list.
So, but yeah, so that is, I think we talked about the questioning aspect of it, right?
Right.
So if you are convinced ki, these are some things that business really needs, then you would probably, if you need hiring for that, you would have to do it, right? No two ways about it. But yeah, if you kind of convince people and then get convinced about the problems that they definitely need solving, and in the time frame, because I think for startup speed is of big importance, right? If you are not doing it, somebody else would do it. Right. So yeah, as long as you can basically keep that number of problems which are high priority, do that reprioritization exercise over and over again, I think 50% of that hiring requirement would go away.
Right.
And then you can keep operating with a leaner team.
When there is these constraints that we have, the tech bandwidth is limited. You cannot do everything. That automatically ensures that higher focus is given to things that are really important.
Yeah.
If there are a lot of people to build, then each and everything will keep getting built. And then the things that are really important for the business often gets lost in the noise.
Yeah, plus business, so they have set of problems, right? And I think their notion of how important a problem is versus how much time is required to solve that problem tech-wise is not
sometimes
generally aligned.
Absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, something might be very big for them and it could be a one day's effort.
Small work
right?
for the tech.
Yeah.
Or other way around, it might be something which is very trivial, that doesn't add a lot of value to the business, but is a lot of tech effort.
It would probably need re-architecting the entire system. Yeah. So yeah, be clear about those things. Be vocal about things you have already built in the past. Because some new business owner would come up and ask for something that is fairly close to what you built some time ago, but he's not aware of it.
Right.
So if basically that problem can be mapped to that existing solution you built, that could work well and it would not take too much of time. Right. So yeah, so that is where you have to be aware of I think as if when you grow like senior in your team and all, you tend to forget tend to not keep track of what all things you have in your armory.
Right.
So yeah, it's a good idea to probably keep doing code reviews, keep looking at things and chatting with. So not just be involved in HLDs, be also involved in LLDs.
Right.
So that sort of keeps you up to date with what the tools you have.
Correct. What are your opinions about open source? And while of course all of us use different open source platforms, softwares when we are building the systems very, very frequently. However, one thing which is a little bit of Achilles heel for Indian tech ecosystem. So while I wouldn't say that we haven't contributed much to open source, but at the same time, so for example, even Atlassian has kind of, like Facebook, Google, Atlassian, all of these companies have built pretty large scale stable systems which were built inside those companies. And like, for example, your Cassandra, Apache Hive, all of those were built inside Facebook, right? Of course, countless open source tools that have been built at Google, etc. Indian tech industry haven't contributed that much, in my opinion. What is your opinion about that? How could we as well? How could Indian tech industry can start contributing more to open source? While we use a lot of value coming from it, how do we give back?
I think part of it is because we are fairly young.
It's a younger tech ecosystem.
And the kind of problems we are working on.
The Bay Area tech ecosystem is at least 30 years ahead of us.
Right. Yeah. So the problems we are the kind of solution we are doing right now, they have done it quite earlier.
Right.
So the sort of problems we are solving is again not that tech deep, and because they are ahead of us in that sense. That is one aspect to it. The other aspect is obviously the mindset.
Right.
Why do we do it, right? I think that notion is now changing.
Right.
Having seen some of the open source projects become some of the biggest companies, I think that has started coming in, and I think now we have developers who in their part time, right, keep building stuff on their own and then open source it.
Right.
I think it'll catch up. We'll catch up soon. No, but yeah, you're right.
No, but I am seeing good signs already.
Yeah.
Recently, just last week, I was catching up with one gentleman, Arpit, you might know. He's building the IceDB, open source DB, which is yeah. So I think it's happening. Now it's happening, and there are all good signs.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
These few years have went into basically catching up. I think now we are
right. No, so I think what started in a way in 2010 when you all were starting with Snapdeal, Flipkart, etc. That was in a way the starting point of Indian tech ecosystem, the modern Indian tech ecosystem.
Right.
Until 2010, I think we were mostly on the service industry. 2010 is when the product and building products from scratch in a way started in India in meaningful ways.
Yeah.
So we are 15 years in. And hopefully another 15 years so a lot of compounding that would be built on that. Before we conclude, we would love to double click on your current the latest stint where you are using technology to solve some of the wealth management problems, right? Tell us about that how is technology being used? How do you see this wealth management segment in India overall? And would love to hear that, what are the most interesting tech problems that you are working on currently?
Yeah, Stable Money, I joined fairly recently, but yeah, I've been in touch with the founders from the very beginning.
Goes back to that. You don't have to give interviews, you are going doing good work.
Yeah. So yeah, pretty much. Stable Money, I think it's started with FDs, right? Which initially I thought सिर्फ FD book करने के लिए why do you need a big company? But then I started realizing the scale of the problem. कि you do FDs generally with the bank, you have your savings account in, and then when you start putting in big monies, right? So the compounding effect takes place. That 1% makes a lot of difference, and then and there are a lot of options available, and those are fairly secure as well, right? They are basically insured by the RBI's subsidiary DICGC. So yeah, that is one aspect. But then FD is not the only thing that Stable Money wants to solve. It wants to solve for all the fixed income wala segment. So a lot of people, again, youngsters start putting in their money, starting with mutual funds, and then they go to in that direction, right? They start doing stocks and then options and futures, which are again very, very risky.
Extremely high risk.
So yeah, while you can have a chunk of your portfolio in the market-based instruments, I think you should have a part of it in the fixed income segment, and that should increase as you grow. Right?
I think so. As the name Stable Money says, that you are trying to solve for stable fixed income return instruments across the spectrum. So one is FD. What else exists?
So yeah, we recently launched bonds on our platform. So all the corporate bonds, which are again very credible. So that you basically have the peace of mind that my money is secure. And so bonds have a higher interest rate than FDs, but at the same time, again, are fairly secure. We'll then also we are again brainstorming some other products. So for example, FD-based credit card is something we are coming up with. So if you do not have a good credit history, you would not get a credit card from normal banks. But if you do a fixed deposit, right, so then that security is there. So you can get a credit card backed by that FD. So as long as that FD is lien marked, you can use that credit card. So all those problems in that fixed income space we'll be solving. Tech-wise, I think it's fintech is very, very different from the place I came, right? E-commerce wala space, because fintech is whatever you do, you'll probably have to integrate with one of the bigger players, right? The banks or the insurance or whatever, right? Or so BSE, NSE, if you're doing market-based things. So bonds, for example, we are a broker, right? Registered with NSE and BSE. So And tech-wise, because these banks and the bigger players are basically supported by multiple vendors, so you have to go and integrate with all those players. So that becomes a challenge. And then again, the sort of technology you are on, in terms of the, I mean, recency of it, they might be on some legacy systems. You will come across with multiple scenarios where the systems you are integrating with are not as good as they should be, because they are they have been running for multiple years. So the width again of it, for every bank you will have to integrate with multiple players.
I see parallels with what you were doing at Unicommerce.
Yeah, sort of. But again, I can tell you it's a completely different world in fintech.
Right.
And plus, handling the money obviously comes with a lot of responsibility.
Right.
So, I mean, the sanctity of data that you're keeping, plus the sort of, I think the regulations imposed. So we are, because audited by banks, we are audited by by SEBI. So you have to build those security controls around your cloud, whatever cloud you're on. Plus, I mean, the data segregation aspect of it. So those are fairly new and interesting problems that I got to work with. And then I think the standard aspect of a B2C growth journey, right? So you have to build systems for experimentation, A/B testing, right? So those are again those are, I think, similar everywhere, but yeah, you have to basically support things which product needs, and those are fairly interesting in that sense. And then as a growing company, right, when you as a internet company grows, again, data being the user behaviors and patterns, right? So you have to analyze those click data and everything. So you need to start building those data platforms of the world, wherein you will have to handle huge amounts of data going into analytics systems, and people doing cohorting and experimentation and those sort of things. So that becomes interesting.
Makes sense. No, very interesting. How are you using, of course, there is a wave of AI that is kind of coming over, and it's pretty evident. It's not like, unlike some of the, like every few years there's a certain technical hype cycle, right? But at least in my opinion, this AI hype cycle that we are going through right now is more than just hype. It has profound impact. It has a lot of real world value being created. How do you see that changing the development technical landscape in next few years?
So I think my work, like style of work, has now incorporated OpenAI or ChatGPT or Claude. So I think AI has definitely become my assistant. So if I know what needs to be done, so I think, because technology there are lots of technologies you're working with, lots of frameworks, they have their different syntaxes and everything, right? So now the syntax aspect of it is something that
is abstracted out.
I mean, yeah, you know what you need to do. So जैसे Google में कहते हैं ना कि if you know what to
search for,
so then you would be helped a lot by ChatGPT or Claude or whatever. Translation wala migration, if you have to migrate a piece of code to a latest tech, that is something. But yeah, again, it should act as a helper.
Correct.
And it should.
So there's a lot of speculation, right? That people say that AI will replace people, AI will replace software engineers. Do you think AI can do that? Can AI replace you?
I would say no. I mean, yeah, I think.
And for all intellectual honesty,
obviously, no one can predict what will happen in 5 years. But I think for now, for a good amount of time, AI would basically help people increase their productivity big time, because you would not need to struggle with the basic nuances of things. That is something that is readily available. You just go ahead and use it, and you spend your time something else, solving some other problems. So yeah, I think the level of abstraction would definitely be something that would be increased. So yeah.
No, I read somewhere or heard someone that AI won't replace you. You might get replaced by someone who uses AI very well. So it's important that one learns to use AI very well to their benefit rather than just worrying about AI.
So one interesting problem I was discussing with with our colleagues. So my friend came up with that. So there was a guy in US who was trying to build something to find the obituary information of people, like so people who died, when did the obituary happen, and and where was it published. So he had a list of basically date of birth and date of death and name of the people. So what he did was he built a script which would so he basically crawled Google and Bing first of all to search for those people with the date of birth and date of death.
Right.
So Google and Bing will give you a set of results.
Right.
So then he used the LLM to give that search link and then figure out the date of obituary and all the details of the obituary of
And then what
that
people
person
said about them after.
in a JSON format. And then he would do that for all Google results, all Bing results, compare them, and then figure out which one is the best matching result, and then give out the result. So OpenAI basically LLM integrated very beautifully in this problem, right? He could have solved that problem without that also, but it would have required much more amount of work.
Correct.
Here it's probably a 100-line script that does the job for it.
Correct.
So that is how I think probably LLMs would integrate in your day-to-day problem solving.
Correct. No, 100%. Fascinating. Before we conclude the session, I think I would ask you one last question, that what is your advice to an 18-year-old, or let's say 18-year you yourself, if you could, let's say if there was a clone of yours who's 18 year today, super passionate about computer science, wants to build very interesting stuff, what would you advise to an 18-year-old Sunny?
Yeah, so I think in college days you usually basically try to run with the fad. जो भी अभी नया tech आया, you try to go and build that.
A lot of distractions are there. Yeah.
Plus, so many tools are available. So and plus, do I learn Python, C++, Java? So I think my advice would be to just stick to one. Choose one. If you like building stuff that is presentable, go for front end. Start building some websites, some apps, and if you are again basically you like databases, OSs, and those sort of things. Learn one programming language and then try to go
really deep
in it.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Being superficial is basically you will advise against.
That is.
Don't be superficial.
You would be so when you interview with any of the companies, they would 5 minute में उनको पता लग जाएगा कि यार किसको कितना आता है कितना नहीं.
Depth है या बस हवाबाजी है.
हाँ, वो बिल्कुल मतलब एकदम पता लग जाएगा. And then it's up to your choice कि हाँ मतलब if you want to go to a startup and then do the width wala aspect, you can do that, or go to a bigger organizations, go deep further into one of the problems. That's again a matter of choice. For me, startups, I like startups more because of the basically like the sort of business value you get to know you are creating, the direct feedback from the customers you get, and yeah, I think I also enjoy the basically when somebody is using something I built.
No, fantastic. Thank you so much for taking out the time, Sunny. It was
thank you for
great conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.